Chucky Chan.
Here comes Chucky Chan.
Martial arts expert of reptile land.
Halloween is fast approaching, and to celebrate, I've made some tier lists of horror movie franchises. I'm going to go through them franchise by franchise, and in order for a series of horror films to really warrant making a tier list, it has to have a lot of films. So it's going to primarily be slasher franchises just because they have tons of films. Otherwise, it would just be comparing, like, I don't know, 3 films or 2 films. It doesn't make sense to do that as a tier list. So we're going to start with Friday the 13th, one of my favorite horror franchises ever since I was a young kid. Absolutely love Jason Voorhees. We'll start in F tier and work our way up through each of these. So, Jason Takes Manhattan. I believe this is the 8th film in the franchise. It is really fun at the end when he gets to Manhattan, but that's the last 10% of the film. The other 90%, he's on a boat, and it's some of the lamest kills that Jason gets throughout the entire franchise. Very slow, very dull, very boring. You're just waiting desperately for this to involve Manhattan at all. And it's just not... just makes no sense. They should have just cut it. Had the part where he's in Manhattan be a short film and scrap all the boat nonsense. Or better yet, just make a film that actually is just in Manhattan. I feel like they probably, what happened was they could only film for like one night. So that's why almost none of it takes part in Manhattan. But there's workarounds. You just write it so you can film in like houses and stuff that make it seem like it's happening in New York at least, not on some boat. So F tier, it's not worth watching. It's easily worth skipping. Especially considering you can just watch the last little bit. Then there's Jason Goes to Hell in D tier. Really crappy. I like the concept, kind of this possession, and it's bouncing from person to person. It just has almost nothing to do with Jason is the problem. And it's not going to be satisfying as a Jason movie. It should just be a different movie, and they clearly just connected it to Jason in the loosest of ways to try to put butts in seats, and I don't like that. C tier, Jason Lives. It's pretty good. There's not much to talk about. It's just one of the odd ones. Nothing wrong with it. I do not use ad blocker, as you have probably noticed. So, the original 2 films in B tier. Shots fired. I don't think that's even that controversial, really, but the first one, totally fine. One of the coolest kills happens to Kevin Bacon. It's solid. And the second one, really fun. You have Jason with no mask, but really, again, you're just not really getting that Jason-ness of it to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just like some ogre dude. Jason really doesn't take form. It's not all that fun. It's fun on a rewatch in the context of, like, it's funny that he's got a bag on his head and stuff. So we'll move along to A tier. One movie that gets really strange, unfair criticism is the most recent Friday the 13th, which I think came out in like 2014. This is not a remake or a reboot. It is just a flat-out sequel. There is no reason that it cannot exist amongst all the others as simply a sequel. And I really like that Jason kills somebody, I believe it's with a bow and arrow, which, if you think about it, Jason has some humanity to him. He avoids killing children. He's, mostly mindless, but he's able to disable cars and sneak around at times. He's got some intelligence to him, and the fact that his home base is a campground, it's logical that maybe he learned that before he originally died, or that's a skill that he gained because he controls this campground. There's probably been bow and arrows there, right? And we see him utilize a wide range of weapons, and it would just stand to reason that he would use a bow and arrow, and that makes him so much more deadly. I would say it would be a step too far, would be him using a gun, but it's not completely out of the question. It's not like the craziest thing in the world if he was to use a gun, but I think a bow and arrow specifically, very fitting. Really solid movie. Very solid slasher movie. Fits right in with the franchise. They did a great job, honestly. But it's just not... It's not quite the same vibe as a lot of the other movies, and this franchise really kind of is at its best when it's a little bit off the rails. So it's low A tier. And part 3, again, the franchise is better when it's off the rails. Part 3 is okay. The final chapter is the one with Corey Feldman. Really cool. Kind of explains some of the Jason lore a little bit. You have, I think this is part 6, the one with the telekinetic girl. That one I always just liked. It's really weird having Jason go against this woman with telekinesis. But whatever. Let's, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain why I like it, but I like it. Jason X is super crazy. You have Uber Jason. One of the coolest kills in the entire franchise. My single favorite kill in the entire franchise. It's actually a fake one because he's in a like VR situation in this spaceship where, to distract him, they provide him with people to kill in a VR setting, and he does in a very ridiculously awesome way. Friday the 13th, part 5, New Beginning. Again, it's just goes to the Jason lore. It's decent. It's one of the most solid, like, standard Jason movies. Where, like, when you think of a Jason movie, it's kind of part 5 is kind of it. It hits hard. And then in S tier, Freddy vs. Jason. I feel like this movie is somehow totally underrated. It really just... It gives you... even though I don't like that it has Jason be afraid of water, like, that's really goofy and weird because he literally has, like, used water to be in stealth. He's never avoided water in the past. Kind of a dumb bit of writing there, but you have to also realize that Freddy is the master of messing with your head and exacerbating your fears, and Jason did drown. Like, he still is a person, and he still, as a child, died by drowning, right? So it's not the craziest thing, but it's a little, especially within the context of the movie, where it's like Jason is very focused, almost more so than we've probably ever seen him, other than like Jason X, where he is out for blood. And he is out for Freddy's blood. So ain't no water stopping him. And maybe that's why Freddy vs. Jason and Jason X have placed so highly for me, is because you get these like really intense versions of Jason. You have Jason, he's like bloodlusted, and it's really cool to see. Jason X is just wild. Just a truly wild movie. And I think it works. I think it's the perfect franchise for that wildness. But we'll move on to Nightmare on Elm Street. So, starting in F tier, we have nothing. There is no F tier Freddy movie. D tier. Unfortunately, some of the bland ones. We have Freddy's Dead and The Dream Child. Just really nothing stands out from them. They're okay, they're scary. I mean, it's Freddy. But really, there's nothing great about them. have any of the best Freddy moments. They're fine, but rating against the other ones, I just don't. I had to rate them against these other ones, so realistically, they would probably be here, um, in a more general sense. We've got the Dream Master. I kind of like that one. It's decent, but it just leaves you wanting to watch the Dream Warriors Part 3. There's no way to watch it and not think like, hey, Dream Warriors is just this but better. I should just watch Dream Warriors right after this because this is just the better version of it. But it works. Yeah. Could be. Dream Warriors is just all around better. It's just the same concept, but it works so much better. Part 2, really interesting movie. It's very gay, which is kind of odd. It's odd to have like a slasher movie franchise where none of the other ones are gay, but this one's very gay. And I guess people just didn't really notice at the time. And outside of that, though, it's kind of like goofy at the same time. It's Freddy jokes a lot more than he does in the first one, and he also like comes into the real world at this party, and it's fine, but it doesn't all gel together as good as the first one or so many other movies in the franchise do. It's just kind of all over the place, but definitely worth watching. I think all of these are worth watching. Don't skip any of these. And we have the remake. Now this one's an actual remake, and they go darker with Freddy. And they don't overdo it, which I like. They have him be a little bit more of a PDF, but they don't go insane with it. They don't like make that the selling point of the movie or anything. They just simply don't overdo it, so you get a pretty good horror movie. It's definitely worth watching. I wish it would have been really cool if they made a remake of the second one in this universe. I don't know how you do it. It'd be very dark and crazy. I don't know. I actually wish that they would reboot the series again, and I'm sure they eventually will. But I think making a like more tightly written, cohesive remake to part 2 would be really cool. And we have New Nightmare. This is a lot of people's favorite, and the original, a lot of people's favorites. These are absolute. If somebody put these in their S tier, I can totally understand it. I can absolutely see why. First one, very, very original and incredible. New Nightmare, very cool concept. Like, Wes Craven had a really good idea for this movie, and it works. It works really well. It's kind of weird, right? Like, Freddy definitely feels different, and that's kind of the point. It's very, like, psychological, as you don't know, like, if Freddy is actually there, or if this is just the character is manifesting Freddy in their dreams and such. It's really cool. And if you don't know, Stephen King admitted that Pennywise is just a ripoff of Friday the 13th. He didn't necessarily mean to. I mean, Stephen King writes so many horror books, but he definitely, like, afterwards, when people pointed it out to him, that, like, hey, there's a ton of similarities between Pennywise the Dancing Clown and Freddy Krueger. He's like, yeah, I guess I ripped it off. And Pennywise is just infinitely inferior to Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is one of the scariest horror movie villains of all time. Just this burnt dude with with this razor glove. It attacks you in your dreams, attacks you in ways, those like intangible ways in your nightmares that you can't, that it's so easy to connect with that feeling of like hopelessness that you can have in a dream where you're running and you're getting nowhere, and there's just insane dream logic where you turn a corner and instead of it being what should be there, all of a sudden you're just in some crazy place. Really just an absolutely phenomenal franchise. I got nothing but love for this franchise. Now in S tier, I think Freddy vs. Jason is just one of Freddy's most interesting showings, as the times when Freddy is specifically targeting the teenagers in this movie, it works super well. And that's very impressive that this franchise has endured for like decades, and to still be making like effective content is really cool. I feel like they absolutely did Freddy justice and did it very well. Freddy was scary in this movie, and he was Freddy. People complain that there's not enough Freddy fighting Jason in the movie, but I mean, you have to have them like take each other out, and you have to try to like write a way for them to be fighting each other. And that's really hard to do, especially a lot of people don't consider the runtime of movies. Like horror movies typically are much shorter than something like a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, where you can just make a 2 hour and 45-minute movie and people will go see it. If you make a horror movie that long, people are not going to go see it, right? Like that Midsummer movie, which I've yet to watch, but that movie's super long, and I've avoided watching it because it's super long. Like almost all of these movies are going to be under a 2 hour runtime, so you really have limited time in a horror movie, and I feel like you got plenty of Freddy vs. Jason and Freddy vs. Jason. I just don't think that's even remotely a valid criticism. The only way you can have more is to cut other stuff. And if you cut other stuff, then you don't care about any of the human characters whatsoever. Thus, you don't care about any of the plot whatsoever. And then you just have... If you just have Freddy versus Jason and they're just fighting each other, then also no one cares about that. Like, you can make that, but it would be horrible. Unless you can add like context, which you absolutely need to, because these are two different franchises, two different film universes colliding. You can't just do that. You can't just like spawn in two characters in a Hell in a Cell. That would be cool. I would love that, and plenty of people would love that, but so many people would hate that. And I think that A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, absolutely phenomenal. The concept of they fight back against Freddy using dream logic is really cool. It works super well. You have Freddy getting some of his best kills and being his absolute scariest in the movie. I made a point to arrange it like this because I put Freddy vs. Jason in the S tier of the Friday the 13th movie, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Dream Warriors is better than anything in the Friday the 13th franchise. We'll move right along to the Halloween franchise, which I will have less to talk about. Hey, a gay test. Halloween 3, just garbage. It's fine, right? Like, I like anthology horror movies. Great, but it doesn't work. It's stupid. Again, you're just adding on the Halloween name so people will go to see Michael Myers, and then there's no Michael Myers. That's a crappy thing to do, because then you just aren't giving people what they paid to see. And you're annoying people who want to watch, even now, want to watch the franchise. Because say you just want to binge watch the movies, you could argue, all right, it's nice to have a break, but no, like that's not really how this works here. And we got Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween 4, Halloween 5. These all kind of like bleed together in my mind. They're okay. I would probably put 5 above the others because at least there's a little bit of concept, but they're all bland. I would say they are below average horror movies. We've got the OGs. Halloween, Halloween 2. They simply don't work for me. I want to be honest, they're okay. They're fine. I get why people like them. Iconic. But I don't care. I do not care. I don't see the point. Honestly, like, I don't get this logic at all. Now, maybe it's because me as a very young kid, I got to watch all kinds of horror movies. I thought Michael Myers was boring, bland. There's not that much to him. Now, like, as an adult, I appreciate the music. I appreciate the filmmaking behind the original. But to me, this is the first, like, 2 Halloween movies are pretty much the same in terms of quality, but they just really don't do much for me. It's just kind of like a middle of the road slasher franchise overall. I'm going to be honest. And they aren't even my favorites of that franchise. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I feel like I never will get it. I feel like there's a lot of goofiness with Michael Myers just being there, and someone looks away, looks back, he's gone. So he has teleportation. He uses this teleportation, this short range teleportation, like way too often, so it makes it goofy. And Loomis is always the most interesting character, and that's a problem. That's a problem when like a tertiary character is like the only good thing going on in your franchise. I don't even care for Jamie Lee Curtis's character. There's really not that much to her at all. Now, to me, it's just like a very not dynamic. It's just a very one-dimensional horror franchise. It's just guy in a mask trying to stab Jamie Lee Curtis, who's a relative of his. And he'll stab anyone on his way to accomplish that goal. Now, that's fine, but that's boring. That's so boring to me. And I've always found it boring. As time goes on, I find it like more boring and just insulting. I get it. I get that like the first Halloween is one of the first slasher movies ever made. But that just doesn't get much credit for me. That's the only thing keeping like it from being in D tier for me. And like the music's really good. The music and it being an OG is what's keeping it from being D tier. I like Resurrection. You got Busta Rhymes. Maybe it's only because of Busta Rhymes, but it's fine. H2O. You got Josh Hartnett. I don't know, like keep me mildly entertained. And then you got the more recent ones, the like sequel trilogy. They're all, again, I feel like they're just equal in quality. They're entertaining. It's obviously it being made decades after the originals. It's got its own vibe to it. But I still just don't care. I feel like it's really banking off the nostalgia of the originals. And that's not enough for me because I don't even really care about the originals. I don't understand why this is like, there's just nothing to this franchise. I've always felt this way, and I continue to feel this way. I probably feel stronger. And so I've got nothing in S tier. There's definitely not an S tier Halloween movie that's been made. Maybe one day there will be. I'm sure this franchise will continue. But oh my god, like absolutely, I didn't have to think about it for one moment. Nothing is making S tier in here. And it's, I like the Rob Zombie ones better than the originals by far, by miles, because it's got, at least it's got that like goofy like Rob Zombie charm. At least it has a Rob Zombie style to it. I I give it credit. I feel like it's on par with sort of these other eras of the Halloween films, but at least it's got like Rob Zombie goofiness and style. And I would rather have that than nothing. We'll move on to Child's Play. The remake with Aubrey Plaza. I feel so bad. I feel so bad about this. It is, I believe, the only Halloween 3 is in F tier, but I did not put much in F tier. There is Jason Takes Manhattan. There is Halloween 3, and there's Child's Play. This Child's Play is the worst of any of those. Child's Play remake is the worst. And I feel bad because I love Aubrey Plaza. And I watch a movie and I can tell that people put a lot of effort into this. And there's things that are done right, and there's things that are done well. And there's okay kills, and it's fine. But overall, you just neuter the character. The whole selling point of Child's Play is Chucky. Now, yeah, in the original Child's Play, Chucky isn't the Chucky I would say that he becomes. He's not as wisecracking and scary as he would become throughout the franchise. But he's a million times better than this. This, you have just a CG monstrosity. And it goes down to not just does the character not look like Chucky, not sound like Chucky, not Chucky at all, but he doesn't move like Chucky. When you CGI everything, now the CGI, they try to make like robot ties or like have doll-like motions, but it's way too buttery smooth and not doll-like in CG form. Just so much is lost from so much of the charm of Chucky is that he's a doll. He moves like a doll, and he talks, he curses like a sailor, and is a lunatic. And you just don't get any of that. And I hated watching this because I see like a movie that could have worked if they just made it a doll. If they just didn't do the CGI route, this would be middle of the road, maybe even a little bit better than middle of the road. Even if they did like change the voice of Chucky and made him not Chucky. But you can't just CGI it. You can't not have a doll. He has to be a doll. Make it look like a doll and act like a doll. The expressions, like, dolls are creepy. They're one of the creepiest things in the world. CGI, it's insane how severe it does not work and takes away any interest, any scariness, any intrigue in the character. It's just not Chucky. Horrible, but again, I feel bad for this. I actually did not complete this yet. So we'll talk about the Chucky series at the end, because I've misplaced this. Because it is not, it's higher than D tier. It is well higher than D tier. We'll move along to C tier. Child's Play 3. Solid. quite solid. Andy goes away to military school. To me, it's a weaker of the original three. It's just you take away some of the like child play, if you will. Like I know the character has to age, but putting him in military school really just takes away all of the childness of him and just adds all this like other crap to be going on in your movie that is completely unneeded. Andy just simply like going to college or something, or like a school. I think it's like a military school. I'm pretty sure he's high school age. It just doesn't work. It's just the military school element of it does not work. They should have done something different, but overall, it's a totally fine movie. Child's Play, the original, iconic, but Chucky's not the Chucky he would become. He's not wisecracking enough, and he's honestly not scary enough. Like the kills aren't phenomenal, and the thing is with Chucky, as he racks up kills throughout the franchise, the threat that he poses becomes more interesting and scary, which is kind of important to a horror film. So it's kind of just like, oh, well, this possessed doll, he just doesn't pose a lot of threat. If this existed in isolation, if there had never been any sequels, you'd be like, oh, well, that thing would be super easy to defeat. But as he continues to survive and thrive and become more sort of intelligent, or has more opportunity to show his intelligence and his abilities of what he can do, even without factoring in the like supernatural element of it, right? Like say he wasn't able to just possess other dolls. If he was stuck in the like his own first doll that he possesses for some reason, he still, like, I guess there would have to be sequels for, say there were sequels where he didn't possess other dolls and what have you, he still would have like gotten more kills and shown off more and more abilities outside of the supernatural. Now with the supernatural, his threat is just expanded to insanity, which kind of just makes it kind of almost takes away from the series in a little bit, because it's it becomes kind of goofy in a lot of ways. But there's not really anywhere else for the franchise to go when you think about it. It kind of has to be that. Ew, I hate the colors of this. I messed up the colors on here too. I hate the regular like tier list color scheme, because it's like orange, yellow. It just doesn't look good at all to me. We'll move along to A tier though. Seed of Chucky, completely insane. Like, this movie is insane. Chucky has a kid who is male and female, but in a split personality way. So it'll be Glenn, the male, or Glenda, the female. And the logic here of Chucky, the possessed doll, having a child with Tiffany, the possessed doll, and they have a doll child, is so like funny and crazy. It's a really cool movie. It is insane. It's one of the most insane horror movies out there, but I love it for that. Child's Play 2, the best of the originals. It's just, they go to the like toy factory. You have much more wisecracking Chucky. He really gets to take form for the first time in this movie. It's excellent. Cult of Chucky. actually mixed these up. They have very similar titles. I meant to put Cult of Chucky up here. So the thing with Curse of Chucky, it's sort of the... It was quite a while, I feel like, between Seed of Chucky, which would have came out in like the mid-2000s, if I'm remembering correctly, and then Curse of Chucky, I think, came out in around like 2011. So it'd been quite a while since they had a movie. Or maybe it would have been more like 2015. What am I thinking? 2016? I don't know. Like I get mixed up. Because it came out after this like failed remake. So Curse of Chucky continues the story of the actual Chucky, not the stupid remake one, after Seed of Chucky, and quite a while later. So Chucky's kind of separated from his family, and he's back. He messes with this woman who goes on to still be in the franchise going forward, and then that leads us into Cult of Chucky. Curse of Chucky is like a very standard Chucky movie, and I think they knock it out of the park, and intensify the creepiness of Chucky being stealth. Because in certain films, he's stealth mode, right? He's hiding as a doll in the original. Some of the scariness comes from the fact that like he can hide himself. He can do stuff without anyone knowing because he's doing it when they're asleep or whatever. He's being very sneaky. And then, boom, he's hiding in plain sight. And I feel like they really master that in Curse of Chucky. Then the woman that he's messing with, the final girl in Curse of Chucky, she kind of takes the fall for the murders, ending up in an asylum because she's blaming it on a possessed doll, which probably isn't going to work. And it doesn't, and she gets thrown in the loony bin. And Chucky seeks her out, and it's crazy. I'm trying to not spoil a major plot point of the Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky, but it just goes insane. And I love that about this franchise, is that it starts normal and then goes into insanity, right? Like you have the first three, normal. And then you have Bride of Chucky, which is between normal and insane, and then Seed of Chucky is completely insane. Then you have Curse of Chucky, normal. Cult of Chucky, absolutely insane, yet again. Then you have the series, which is after Cult of Chucky. Again, it starts normal and then goes back into insanity. This series is awesome. It gives you so much Chucky, and he's actually Chucky, and it gives you so much things that fit within the lore of the franchise, which vastly expands in the final three movies in ways that are truly insane and unexplored. And that's something that really is strange in a way, right? Because I feel like a lot of people fell off of the franchise after the craziness of Seed of Chucky. But these two movies here, Cult and Seed, the lore is so insane that this character like receives in these things, and then it really takes shape in the series because it just further develops those things, which are just wild. So this is like I don't know how many seasons there's been, but I've seen at least 3 of them. I think the series is right here. It's in A tier. I think Curse is like the best standard Chucky movie, and in such, it works really, probably the best as just a flat out horror movie or horror entity of any of these individual films or series. Like, the series is crazy. The series, like, it's impressive that it actually works as like a horror property. Like, it's really hard for a horror series to actually be scary, right? Like, I've watched episodes of Supernatural, not scary. I've watched episodes of this, that, the other, not really scary. It's very hard for a horror series to actually be scary. And this one does it at times early on. And then Bride of Chucky, just phenomenal, just ridiculously one of the best horror films ever made. Just slasher amazingness. The fact that they were able to bring in a love interest, which has been done in other horror films and other horror franchises, but for it to actually work, and for it to work as well as it freaking does, Tiffany, oh my god. Like, Jennifer Tilly is just an absolute icon of horror because of this. Just a legendary character. You go to like Spencer's Gift today, they have literal dolls of Chucky and Tiffany. Now granted, there's like a series that's still ongoing, but just an absolute iconic character. This character that just matches Chucky in craziness, in viciousness, in she hasn't stacked up as many kills as Chucky has, but maybe she has off screen, because there's a lot of off screen stuff that happens with her, right? Between Seed and Curse, we don't see everything that she's up to. Prior to her showing up in Bride of Chucky, she could have been up to all kinds of craziness. It's implied that she was, right? And then, like, between Cult and the series, she's probably clearly up to all kinds of craziness. And it's just wild how well this works for her to, so many times in any kind of film franchise or show, when they bring in a love interest, and that love interest is like supposed to be sort of like the same but in the female, it just so often just feels like it falls flat. Like, the love interest is clearly just the inferior version, whether it's Daredevil and Elektra. I'm thinking of the Ben Affleck Daredevil, but or even the series Daredevil. It always just feels, now the series Daredevil does a much better job. Batman and Catwoman, it just always feels like, alright, the main character's still the main character, though. He's still, like, superior to her. And you just don't feel that. You feel like Tiffany is just as good. And that's crazy. That's, like, so impressive. Like, it's a genuine feat of storytelling there. And just a phenomenal. To me, this is the best slasher franchise. Everything good about Freddy Krueger, to me, is better with Chucky. He's funnier. He's scarier because he's less of a like supernatural concept, right? Now, even though you might think like, oh, I could live if Chucky was after me. I'd be just fine because he's got short arms and short legs, and I could just punt him across the room. And maybe that's kind of right, but also he's insanely intelligent. He's super stealth. He gets the drop on people. He's relentless. When you get into his ability to possess things, oh my god, like late in the game, like series Chucky, you got nothing on series Chucky. Like, oh my god. And it, like, with Tiffany, with his child, oh, like, come on, man. You ain't surviving it. And Chucky's always also a master of weaponry, right? Michael Myers Jason, they can use some weapons, right? But they really limit themselves to like very slashing, short range, knives, machetes, very limited. Chucky, you don't get that. He'll use a gun. He'll use any tool he can. He's much smarter than these other slashers, and he's proficient with weapons. Like Chucky with a knife, you are not beating him unless you also have a weapon. But even if you had a knife, you're in a knife fight with Chucky. He's taking you, right? And so many times he's like pulled out a weapon. You ain't like this. This character is insanely deadly. You never f with him ever. I'm gonna move on to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Really great franchise. We got nothing in D, nothing in F. Now that also kind of goes to the fluidity of the franchise, or not the fluidity, the opposite, the rigidity. A lot of these movies are very similar. The Netflix one, I feel like gets way too much criticism. So many people would just place it in F tier and say, "Oh, this is unwatchable garbage," and I think that's just because they're annoyed with the like Gen Z characters in it. But I think that's really cool. I think specifically the scene where people are being super Gen Z makes all the sense in the world. You could argue that it's illogical, but basically what happens, and I recommend you watch all of these movies. Any Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is worth watching. But they have this scene where they're partying in a bus and they're dancing and they have their phones out and they're like live, on Instagram Live or whatever the movie equivalent is. And there's just dancing and drinking on this bus. And there's like a strobe light or something going, and Leatherface comes on, and they aren't immediately like scared shitless when he enters the bus because they're dancing and partying. Like, not everyone even notices him, but those who do, they probably think that this is just a troll. You wouldn't just think it's actually Leatherface, especially with where they physically are. They aren't expecting Leatherface to roll up at all. But in the film universe that they're in, Leatherface exists, right? They would think it's just somebody pretending to be Leatherface to spice up the party, right? Like, they are not thinking this guy's about to chainsaw all of us to death. But what happens is he chainsaws all of them to death. Some of them escape. But primarily, he chainsaws a busload of people to death. And it is gory, and it is crazy, and it is awesome. And people will dislike this movie just because of that. And that is so insane to me. Because that's like the best scene. That's like the only good scene in the movie. Now, it does kind of poop on the lore a little bit. It's stupid. But I think it's perfectly fine. It's definitely the worst of the franchise, but I don't think it's like this totally unwatchable piece of crap. The characters aren't super likable, That's its downfall for sure, but other than that, it's just fine. I believe this is part 3 of the originals. It's clearly the worst of the originals. Clearly. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing special about it. It's okay. It's not as good as 1 or 2 or 4. And then you have sort of this like newer ones, but not the newest Netflix one, but the newer ones. Of those, they're quite good. They work. It's hard to have it not work. You got a big dude who wears human skin on his face and hunts people with the chainsaw. And there's a crazy family. His family's crazy. It's like a very simple recipe, and they don't like mess it up. To me, it's they're middle of the road, but they're going to be like slightly more entertaining than just say a middle of the road horror film because it's Leatherface. Like it's Leatherface. They all kind of like are just the same in quality. I like 3D. If I'm thinking correctly, Texas Chainsaw is the one where you have the actress who played Cynthia in Malcolm in the Middle, and she is looking fine as hell. Now that she's an adult, oh my god. Oh my goodness. So that makes this one stand out. But the sheriff in this remake is quite good. The guy from Full Metal Jacket, they're just solid. There's not much to say. Just excellence of execution. And then you have the McConaughey one. This one people need to see. It's either the third one or the fourth one. I'm pretty sure it's the fourth one. But it's got Renee Zellweger as the final girl. And Matthew McConaughey, not as Leatherface, but as one of Leatherface's family members, like his brother or something. So, oh my god, is Matthew McConaughey awesome in this movie. This is a quite low budget. I would assume the lowest budget of any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. But McConaughey carries this thing. He's quite young in this movie. This thing was clearly just this like low budget production, and that shows. But McConaughey playing off Renee Zellweger, he's awesome. He's just so awesome because he's just this evil bastard. And it works so well because he gets to be this like crazy McConaughey. And it shouldn't work as well as it does. It's bizarrely underrated. I really am thoroughly entertained by this movie. And it's short. I think it's lower budget. Resulted also in it having a shorter runtime. And I don't know, it works super well for me, and it really just stands out because of the McConaughey of it all. Like Leatherface plays second fiddle to McConaughey in that one. The original, absolutely iconic. This is what I'm talking about with not liking the original Halloween movie. It's like I had already seen several of the Friday the 13th movies. I think I'd actually already had seen the original 9 Friday the 13th movies before I even saw the first Halloween. So I'm like, oh, what? Like this guy is just lame Jason. But I'd already seen at least the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and I'm like, what? Like, there's this guy's nothing compared to Leatherface. Leatherface wears people's skin and has a chainsaw. This is crazy. But the first one is absolutely phenomenal. I can't imagine someone watching it and not enjoying it, not getting what you want to get out of a horror movie. It's scary, it's creepy, it's intense, it's gory, it's firing on all cylinders. But for me personally, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is better. It's fun as hell. It just goes crazy. It's pure insanity. You have the chainsaw versus chainsaw fight. It's just shenanigans. There's so much shenanigans, and it's so weird to me. They took a very weird turn, especially with it being part 2. Usually a franchise doesn't go off the rails in its part 2. Think of Seed of Chucky. That's the 5th Chucky movie? The 5th one. That's when that franchise goes off the rails. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's part 2. And it's it's before the thing really gets even built into a franchise. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is so much more of a crazy sharp turn than Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Like it's a basically an entirely different universe, and that's the thing about the first like four Texas Chainsaw movies is they're basically just all in a different universe. It's just a different it's a different multiverse of Leatherface, and two is just wild. They just went nuts with it and leaned into the absurdity, and I like that a lot. But there's not that much difference between all of these, right? Like these are all phenomenal. Watch them all. I'm going to talk about a much more dynamic franchise in Terrifier. And we're going to start with this Alien short, which we're only including because it's a part of an anthology horror movie that is critical to the franchise in a way because it contains two other short films, and then they made this Alien one just to sort of balance it out. But this anthology movie is called All Hallows Eve, which there are sequels to All Hallows Eve, but those have nothing to do with each other. In terms of like All Hallows Eve 2 has nothing to do with 1, or any of this has anything to do with Art the Clown. But this short film has nothing to do with Art the Clown. They just needed to make another short film for the anthology, so they made this, and they included an Art the Clown painting, and so it's got nothing to do with Terrifier. But if you watch All Hallows Eve, which I recommend that you do, you're going to see this, and it's totally fine, and I don't discredit it as much as I do like something like Halloween 3, where you're just full on marketing something as something else, because this came out before Terrifier 1, the film version of Terrifier 1, so it's just different. It's simply different. As far as I understand, I'm pretty sure this anthology came out before Terrifier 1. But yeah, Alien, you're fine, but you're weird. You work, but not as a part of this franchise. So you're lower than you deserve. And then you have the first film, actually. I have the first film in C tier. It's okay. I don't think it's that great. I think it's overrated as hell. I'm surprised, actually, by people's rating of this thing. Because, to me, it's actually the worst thing in the entire franchise. Right? Now, the Alien thing, because it's got nothing to do with Terrifier, okay, sure, you can rate that lower. But the first film, it's not great. It's good. It's okay. It's like middle of the road. It's 100. It's a 5 out of 10. For me, for a horror film, it's 5 out of 10. Not all that scary. Not all that creepy. It's okay. I liked it. I saw that like there was potential. I saw this after the second one came out, but I watched it before I watched Terrifier 2. And I was excited. I was mostly excited because I met the David Thornton or whatever the guy's name is, the guy who plays Art the Clown. He was at this convention in full movie makeup and costume. So I met the Terrifier. I met Art the Clown before I watched any of the movies. And this was like shortly before the like Terrifier 2 was released. And I'm like, that thing looks cool. People are excited that they're making a Terrifier 2. That thing looks cool. This franchise seems like it's going places. And then I watched, after the second one came out, I watched 1 and 2 back to back. And I was like, after, like, I thought about not watching the second one because I'm like, alright, well, I mean, let's see where, maybe I'll watch the second one. Let's see where they're going. The second one is much better. Now, The Ninth Circle is a short film. And just like this Alien one, like, I'm just going to take this Alien one off the list. I guess it doesn't let you do that. But it just doesn't count. It simply doesn't really count. A different, like, film universe. The Ninth Circle, though, as a short film, it's solid. It's better than the first film. But it is very weird. Like there's a series of like demons and stuff. So Art the Clown really is a he's a secondary character, you could say, in a series of secondary characters. So for that, it really doesn't like it can't land all that high, and it's quite weird. It does some things really well, like the Art the Clown of it all. Like this, it's an above average horror short, and yes, it exists in the All Hallows Eve anthology, which is 3 separate short films, which include The Ninth Circle, then this alien one, and then the Terrifier short film, which is different than this Terrifier first film. And it's better than this Terrifier first film. And the anthology itself, I place in B tier. And primarily because these two kind of drag it down. The third short, the Terrifier short, much better than the other two. Much, much better. So as a three piece, it's in B tier. Definitely worth watching. It's sort of where you should start because chronologically that's the way that it goes, and the way that it was released. So instead of seeking out these individual short films, because that's not easy to do and you'll probably only find the Terrifier short film, just watch All Hallows Eve, then Terrifier, Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3. That's the order that it goes in, and I want to clear that up for people because it's not crystal clear. I wasn't even sure of this even after I had watched Terrifier 3. Basically what had happened is I watched Terrifier 1, 2, then I had seen All Hallows Eve, but I wasn't sure because I watched part of it, turned it off, and picked it up again another time, and then I watched the Terrifier short, like separately, and then I watched Terrifier 3 when it was released, and then I wasn't sure if I'd seen The Ninth Circle, so then I was seeking that out, and the only way I could watch it was All Hallows Eve. So then I rewatched All Hallows Eve and realized I had watched this anthology before. So anyway, I digress. The Terrifier short film to me is one of the greatest short films ever made. It is excellent. I've seen several horror short films. This is possibly the greatest one I've ever watched. Really cool. Art the Clown, he works super well. He's a lot more effective in this. Well, he's a lot more powerful in this than he is in the first film. And that in and of itself is interesting. There's a lot of like fan theory as to what's going on because very little is explained. As Art the Clown, the character himself, he doesn't talk much. He's this weird demon who the characters don't know that much about. So then us as the audience, we don't know much about this character at all. So you can only speculate. And the speculation is quite fun as to why Art the Clown in the Terrifier short is like stronger than Art the Clown in the first Terrifier or in Terrifier 3. But then, is he as strong in the short as he is in Terrifier 2? Because there's a clear thing that happens at the end of Terrifier 2, right? Like when he's defeated in Terrifier 2, that presumably makes him weaker in Terrifier 3 than he had been before. So is this like a cyclical thing? And where exactly do these cycles exist? But yeah, phenomenal short film. One of the best. Terrifier 2, awesome movie. Art really gets... his personality starts to show. You really get much more of the sense that he just thoroughly enjoys messing with people, hurting people, killing them. It introduces us to the side characters like Jonathan, and I can't remember the main chick's name, but then they persist in Terrifier 3. So for me, the franchise really kicks into gear in Terrifier 2 because like the characters from Terrifier 1 aren't there in 2 or 3, whereas the characters in 2 are there in 3, and it really starts to have a plot, and therefore you care more about what's going on, and you understand Art the Clown more. Like when I saw promotional material for Terrifier 3 and I saw Art the Clown in a Santa costume and with his, garbage bag, I'm like, this makes so much sense. This is like perfect for having a horror villain disguise themselves as Santa Claus. Like, this works perfectly because Art the Clown already is a costumed wearing dude who carries a bag around. Santa carries a bag around. Perfect. Awesome. I'm like, that is going to work phenomenally well. And I actually called it. I did a slasher tier list before Terrifier 3 came out. And I put Art the Clown at the very top. And I said, Terrifier 2 was way better than the first one. And I think the third one is going to be noticeably better than the second one. And I was absolutely correct. Oh my god. Like, Terrifier 2 and 3 are just so awesome to me. And Terrifier 3 just really, oh my goodness, does this ever hit the mark. It's gorier, it's crazier, you care more about the final girl, and it explores the lore a little more, but it also, like, clearly is going to explore the more in future sequels. So, I was stoked. Rarely have I ever been so excited by, like, the hype around a movie. And for this franchise, the third Terrifier was the first one to get a theatrical release. So this whole franchise was more of a, like, obscure horror fan thing. Other people just hadn't even really seen it outside of people who are fans of horror and are going to, like, be scrolling through Tubi and click on a horror movie. Or through word of mouth would, like, allow somebody to recommend them a horror movie. And this just... To see the third one actually get a theatrical release, I was excited. I was excited because I knew that they had upped the gore and the personality of Art the Clown and in the second one, and the second one was so much better than the first. And I'm like, this third one's going to be even better. And oh my god, it's going to be in theaters. And I was worried. I get worried when these, like, lesser known properties get to theaters because they will rip something out of theaters in a heartbeat. They'll do it. They'll have something run for a week and pull it down if it's not doing numbers. And I'm like, man, like, a slasher franchise and it's the third one. It's so much easier for people to get excited about a horror movie with a ghost. Ooh, spooky ghost. That's the horror movies that Hollywood pushes out that usually get theatrical releases because I don't know. Like, I don't like ghost horror movies nearly as much as I like slasher movies. Now, granted, I would say, like, The Conjuring and The Exorcist are two of the greatest horror movies ever made. But outside of that, there's an absolute ocean of ghosty, spooky horror movies. And that's, like, primarily what gets theatrical releases. So to see this dominate, and so much hype around it, people were excited to see this. This gained, like, word of mouth praise and momentum. And notably made waves for Art the Clown just absolutely dominating the Joker. At the same time as this, the Joker 2 was in theaters. And the Joker 2, although more people saw the Joker 2, because the first one was really good, the Joker 2 lost $100 million in the box office because it was basically a tax write-off. Like, I'm not, no one knows why the Joker 2 was one of the worst movies ever made, but they put no effort into that movie. Like, they had a crappy prison set and a crappy courtroom set and nothing else. Like, they put no effort. They made an absolute piece of garbage. Zero effort. They just cashed the check and walked away, practically, is what they did. So, you have this really horrible Joker movie who's a killer clown, and then you have Art the Clown. You have Terrifier 3. And Terrifier 3, I think, had like something like a $5 million budget. And it made over $100 million in the box office. So it profited $100 million, while at the same time, Joker 2 lost $100 million. Because it had like it was like over $350 million to make that piece of crap. And with Terrifier, you see the budget. You see it. The filmmakers be able to use like more special effects, better equipment. You see on the screen the success of the franchise, and I love that. I love everything about Terrifier 3, and the movie going experience, phenomenal. Oh my god, I love showing people this movie because most people haven't seen the short films or Terrifier 1 or 2 because they didn't get theatrical releases. So people went into this cold, primarily because they wanted to see a good movie and they ain't gonna go see Joker 2 because everyone hated it, right? So people want to go to the movies, have a good time. There's this crazy horror movie, and when I saw this in theaters, I didn't even have to like talk to the other people in the theater to know they had not seen the first two. And even if you had, this was still entertaining as hell. Because it is gorier, it's crazier, it's better. Oh my god. Like when he's chainsawing people in this movie, the crowd reaction, especially if people who haven't like seen a slasher movie possibly, and definitely haven't seen this franchise, it was so cool. I heard this woman literally yell to her boyfriend, "What did you bring me to?" Like the crowd reactions. There was probably only about 30 people in the theater when I saw this, but they were reacting. They were reacting big time to this movie. I'd never seen such a crowd reaction with such a small number of people. Never. Phenomenal horror movie. One of the best. Truly one of the best. And I think the fourth one is going to be as good, maybe even better. This franchise is going places, and it's excellent. But I would say the number 2 and number 3 are excellent, and the short film is excellent for a short film. Keep that in mind. Now I'll move on to our final franchise we're going to cover, which is the Scream franchise. Now, this might be a little controversial, primarily because some people defend the fourth one and say it's the best one. That is so insane to me. The fourth one is a steaming pile of crap. This is one of the worst horror films ever made, genuinely. Oh my goodness. My goodness. It's as big of a slap in the face as the Child's Play CGIing Chucky. Like, that butchers the character Chucky, but at least there's like the crumbs of a good movie around it. Scream 4 is a crappy movie where like the idea of Scream is like a movie that's like self-aware. This movie is horribly unself-aware. It has this weird like feminist message, but it doesn't do a good job of pushing that. And it's just kind of like trying to poop on the original. It doesn't work though. Like, you can't just say, oh well, the first one could have been better. Okay. This is one of the worst things I've seen in theaters. And I've seen shaky cam movies, which I hate passionately. This was just terrible. Oh my goodness. Like, I didn't see Joker 2 in theaters, but this would be like on par with Joker 2. This is just no reason to anyone should watch this. Returning characters, that does nothing for them. If anything, it makes them worse. The new characters are lame as hell. The plot is just nothing to it. It's just trying to be meta and failing. It's just a turd. It is absolute shit. I can't believe that they even got the opportunity to make a number 5 and number 6 with how unwatchable this film is. And I like number 5 and 6 are way better, million times better than this movie. It doesn't get talked about enough how crappy Scream 4 is. I think that's Scream 5. Scream 5, at least it starts to get back on track, but it's goofy, like the Jake Quaid, I believe his name is, the guy who plays what's his name on The Boys, the main character of The Boys. He I like him, but it doesn't really work all that well. I feel like it's too much of a mystery, right? Like they try to go back, they do go back to form, but it just feels like it feels like an actual remake of the first Scream is what this is, but you have characters from the original Scream, and it's not like a remake, it's a sequel, and so it gets kind of jumbled up in itself. But it pays respect to the franchise. Whereas 4 just only disrespects the franchise and doesn't do a good job at it. 5 respects the franchise, it just falls a little short. 6 is... I feel like 6, at least it's fun. At least it has fun with it. But overall, these newer ones kind of suck, but 6 is fun. And I feel bad, because I like these people. I like the guy from The Boys. Why is this scrolling up? My mouse is a piece of crap. But yeah, I like Jenna Ortega. I like the girl who plays her older sister. I like freaking Buddy from The Boys. I like the OG characters, but isn't great. The new ones just aren't great. The third one, solid. Second one, solid. First one, solid and iconic. Like, to me, the first 3 are pretty much... I guess the first one just is better, right? The meta-ness. It's like the only time it actually works across the entire franchise. But I thought it was important to include this franchise, even though there's not that many films and there's not really that much difference about them, I would say. Because I'd say like 2 and 3, they're relatively interchangeable. And the new ones all kind of suck. And then the first one stands out from the others, but not tremendously. I just thought it was important to include this franchise to specify that there's nothing in S tier in this franchise, just like I have with the Halloween franchise. There's just not an S tier movie in these franchises. There's some solid movies for sure, but overall, no. Not even close. But all these other franchises, absolutely. Texas Chainsaw, Child's Play, Terrifier, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th even. Which I guess, Freddy Krueger probably does elevate it. Freddy Krueger does elevate it, honestly. Giving Jason like more to do and more of a threat. Like, Jason's a lot of fun, for sure. He's one of the most fun slashers, but it's also hard to ever put him against anything that isn't just generic, like, teenagers. Which is kind of what makes it hard for a standalone Jason movie to ever be an S tier. Now, granted, he does fight this woman with telekinesis, and he goes against, like, I guess, some advanced tech in Jason X. But outside of that, it really doesn't lend itself to there being enough for Jason to do besides, like, slashing up some teenagers. So yeah, if I should really compare these against each other in the S tier. So I would say these are probably close to the lowest of the things that I have in S tier. Probably on par. I'd put these together. Maybe Freddy versus, from like lowest to highest in S tier. I'm gonna say Freddy versus Jason, Cult of Chucky, Dream Warriors, original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, then Terrifier 3, then Bride of Chucky. Bride of Chucky's the best. It's ridiculously good. And the thing that makes Terrifier 3 stand out is that it's bloodier, gorier, funnier, crazier. I feel like Art the Clown probably gets the best chainsaw kill of all time. Maybe not of all time. There's tons of horror movies that I haven't seen. Like, it's the most popular genre of film, and there's constantly independent stuff. There's probably thousands of chainsaw deaths in films and short films that I haven't seen that outweigh it. But he does kind of out chainsaw Leatherface. To me, Bride of Chucky is the best slasher film ever made. I would say that The Exorcist is the best horror film ever made because it's the scariest and the creepiest and has so much going for it. But then I would say it's Bride of Chucky. Then I would have to really like kind of delineate what I would call Rosemary Baby type films where the scares really go into people in real life, like reality based horror, where to me one of the scariest things is something like Rosemary's Baby or Thumbelina, where although Thumbelina is like a cartoon and it's like various critters and stuff working against her, but it's this idea of like everyone around you working against you, which goes into like a sort of different base fear than like regular horror movies. My favorite horror movie is Evil Dead 2. But again, there's not enough Evil Dead stuff to really warrant a tier list. So of these, Bride of Chucky, clearly on top. And the Exorcist films, again, there's just not enough of them. And I even like the newer one. And I like the Evil Dead sequels. I think I've even made an Evil Dead tier list on this channel before, but to me, there's not enough diversity. Although, like, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness is crazy, but you would pretty much be comparing Army of Darkness against the first two and then against the newer stuff. So it's like when you're just comparing three different things against each other and they're not all that different in terms of like the original two and the newer ones. If you catch what I'm saying, obviously like without, there's like the ash of it all, but outside of that, there's not that much to even talk about. So yeah, I hope you like this. I really went into lengthy explanations because I care about this stuff, right? Like I've loved this stuff ever since I was a child. I literally watched the first 9 of these before I was 9 years old. I'm not sure how old I was, but they would do a movie marathon on TV, and they did it where one night it's the first Jason movie, then the second one. So I remember me and my siblings sitting and watching for an entire, like, I guess more than a week, and watching each one of these on like one of those like cable movie channels, and it was awesome. They never really did the same on these channels with other franchises, or maybe we just didn't know about it because I never really watched the others in that any other franchise in such a chronological way. Like a lot of these I watched all over the place because I just didn't know about them or they weren't very easily available. Like the Texas Chainsaw movies, I definitely saw the first one when I was super young, but I don't know. And I know that I didn't watch the second one until I was an adult because I'm like, oh my god, that's like phenomenal. But I'd seen like either 3 or 4, but connecting the dots on these they kind of like ran together. Because you're a kid, you don't know, like, once you're familiar with the idea of a horror movie franchise, then really like placing it chronologically doesn't matter, especially when you've already seen a couple Freddy movies and you kind of understand that it's not the most serial thing in the world. You don't need to watch them in order to understand that, like, Freddy Krueger, he attacks you in your dreams and he's got these crazy powers in his dreams. And even if you do watch them chronologically, it doesn't necessarily make sense whether it's Freddy Krueger, Art the Clown, Jason. Like, this is all over the place. There's some where the killer's just not even Jason, and ones where just he's got a different outfit and the mask is different. It's one where you just don't even have Jason, or he's just on a boat for no reason. But yeah, I absolutely love horror films, as do a whole ton of people. That's why it's the biggest genre. Plus, it's kind of easy to make as a like independent film because it doesn't have to be plot heavy. Because so much screen time, like as it goes to like Freddy versus Jason, right? You don't have all that much screen time to work with in a slasher film. You just don't, right? Because you're gonna have all these scenes where like a character is creeped out and scared and being preyed upon, and then they're executed. So you have this whole like process of a scene, and that happens like several times throughout the movie. So the amount of time you actually have to like build up the characters and plot is very short. But you have to do it because if you don't do it, then no one's going to care. But because the time is so short, it allows you to not have to really do all that much writing in terms of like dialogue with characters. So, and it's just fun to mess around with like fake blood and have people get killed. Like, people love getting killed. Actors love getting killed on screen. They love it. I love it. I've been killed on screen. It's phenomenal. It's a good feeling. There's always a ton of independent horror, which is awesome because I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love to see it. I love All Hallows Eve. I love Terrifier. I love the low budget Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's great. Even the original Nightmare on Elm Street has some like budget aspects to it, and some of the sequels too, and definitely Friday the 13th as well. It's something where you can make it on a low budget too, because you'll only have like a couple of scenes where you have like all your characters together, and it's usually early on. So that's another part of the filmmaking that makes it easy in a way, is because you're gonna have a lot of simple shots, like simple shoots, I mean. Because if you're just killing someone in the woods, well then you just have to get like the person who plays the killer, then the person who plays that specific victim or set of victims, and you film that part. And then another day or whatever, you film this couple actors here, right? Like Jason Takes Manhattan. They probably could only shoot in Manhattan for one night. So they shoot Jason walk in, he kicks the boom box, he punches the guy's head off. It's awesome, right? But it's rushed. It is so rushed. It is crazy. And they clearly, with a title like that, they wanted this whole movie to be in Manhattan. But that's expensive. And for Friday the 13th Part 8, you're not going to get a big budget, right? Because a lot of the reason that like a studio is going to back these movies at all is because you can shoot them for super cheap, because you're just shooting somebody, guy in a mask stabbing people in the woods. Like the actor who has played Jason, it's been so many different actors because he's just a big guy in a mask. It can, as long as the actor's a large guy, you can have whoever play him. And I even met one of the actors who played Jason in one of the movies, and I think he was pretty much like the same size as me. Hope you enjoy Halloween. Just do it with better franchises than the Halloween franchise or Scream. To me, Scream isn't even synonymous with Halloween. Like, I don't even like the costume, like the mask. Like, to me, the Scream mask is lame. Because it's like, alright, the first one's good. The second and the third one are decent. The other ones suck. And it's just a guy. Like, it's just a guy in that mask. I don't know why it's so popular as, like, a costume. Like, I get that it was, like, a costume before the movies. But I don't know why it's persisted. I don't know why they made 4, 5, or 6. Definitely don't know why they made 4. But, like, I don't get this costume. It is so lame. It is, like, the lamest slasher that's out there. Like, I think at least, like, Michael Myers is a costume. At least it's, like, interesting. At least it's scary. That's something about the, like, Scream costume, the ghost face. It's just not scary. I've never found it scary. Even as a child. Like, I was a young child watching these first 3 movies. And I'm like, oh, I could outrun this guy. I literally felt that as a child. No, granted, I'm taller than your average child. I was the height of a grown man by the time I was, like, in, like, grade 6. But I remember feeling like, huh. Because you have Ghostface in these movies where he's chasing somebody and he's running. And I'm like, alright, well, it's just a guy in this costume. This costume probably hinders him a little bit. He moves fast, but, like, that's just because he's a regular person. He's not Jason or Michael Myers, so he moves fast. But I'm like, realistically, there's several times where where people are just running away from him. And I'm like, I'm fast as hell. I can run real fast. Not that many people can keep up with me. And I can run long distances. I could then. Maybe not now, right? Like, well, now I'll just, like, I can still book it. You still ain't catching me now. But then, child me, ain't no Ghostface ever catching me. I'm running, and I'm gonna keep running, and you will not catch me. I'm like, this character poses, like, no threat. I'm like, yeah, if he got the drop on me, I'd be toast. But other than that, I just gotta, like, juke him, or not even juke him, just have an escape route. Boom, I'm gone. I'm gone, and you ain't catching me. And that's just, like, not a big threat, even though he uses a gun at different times. Just not a threat. And then especially, like, in the newer ones where it's, like, women or the guy from The Boys, I'm like, man, if I was confronted with these people, I would just rip them in half. I would literally I would send that guy I would send Huey to Suplex City. Like, this ain't gonna go well for him. Whereas, like, other characters, you're toast. You're absolutely toast. I saw this like, TikTok where this woman was like, oh, if I had to go up against a horror movie villain, I would go up against Jeepers Creepers. People are like, what are you talking about? That's the worst person you could possibly choose. And yeah, like, the creeper is taking you out. Dude can fly. Dude has, like, super smell. He's insanely strong. Especially if you've seen, like, part 3 and beyond. The guy's got super strength. It's, like, unkillable and relentless. You would stand no shot. You can't outrun him, and he's gonna one-shot you. If you agree, disagree, let me know. Make your own tier list. Let's talk about it.
You're gonna love my nuts.
I fuck a bitch, I forgot name. I can't buy me no way to rain.
gotta go and buy ball, man. Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.